You probably heard that international experience is in high demand. I'm sometimes quite surprised when I hear this, especially when I hear about which companies are asking for international experience and what the conditions are they are willing to offer when they ask for this international aspect of work. By the way, greetings from New York City. I'm in New York City right now when I record this, and the day is about to begin. I'm looking towards Manhattan right now. So we're going to talk about theory and practice of international experience. Probably you heard about the fact that international experience is something where people always say that they value it and they want to have the experience, they value the experience. That's what most organizations say. One of the most quoted critics, one of the most often named pieces of criticism is that international experience is not available to absolutely anyone. It is basically saying that privileged people get another bit of more privilege because when you have more money, you obviously are able to travel a bit more. It's not completely wrong when someone says that. And of course, asking for international experiences normally does not make your team more diverse, because often when I see these international experience people, these are people from the country where they were born. They traveled a bit left and right, and then they said they have international experience, which is, of course, in that context, then not true. The main problem here, however, is the organization, who is very generally asking for international experience without putting a proper focus on it. And often people reference anything they did outside their home country very quickly. And unfortunately, many organizations do not properly question what have they done there. The question is how to do it better. And there are three main aspects we have to talk about. So first, it's about the person. You, of course, when you leave the country, deal with people in different contexts. And of course, what you assume you get is better style of communication. You probably learn a different language. You're also better at conflict management. And yes, you are. However, and that is the main point here, I often see that people reference their international experience very quickly in a very broad manner. When you have business trips to certain countries, you need years, most likely decades, to fully understand the culture you're dealing with. When you want to have people with true international experience, they must have settled there. I just give you an example. I come from a very small village in northern Germany, and the only time when I left the country when I was younger was during 2 student exchange programs, which both lasted less than a week. Because there simply was no money there, and traveling was very expensive back in the days, especially compared to incomes, and especially when you come from a family that works in public service. I was never poor. My family was never poor. However, not that wealthy that you can send someone to international schools. When you simply travel somewhere for a very short and limited time, please do not claim to have international experience, because very quickly in discussions, people will see that you lack the most important aspects. When you really settled somewhere, and that is a very important aspect here, you will see how people work, how people live, the social role of work, how they approach work, the different cultural differences. And you will only see that when they really let you into their inner ring of trustees. And that'll take months, probably years. And that's why you probably need to live there to fully understand that. I, by myself, born in northern Germany, very small village, made it from Hamburg, then to Berlin, which was still the largest city in Germany, metropolitan area, international outlook, then moved to London. So to the United Kingdom, very different culture already. And from there to Spain, now live in Switzerland. I'm still traveling a lot, worked in more than 40 countries. And I can tell you that there are massive differences about the work style, the style of communication, conflict management, what people mean when they say something, which doesn't always mean what they say word by word. And of course, one of the most important aspects is what is the role of work in society? Understanding what work means is so vital for the understanding of international cooperation, collaboration, that it's one of the most important pieces of experience you can ever have. However, you will only have that when you truly settle somewhere. So getting the idea and the concept of realities of other nations and their work firsthand is a valuable asset, of course, for you, your life, and of course, for you as a person when you approach the job market. Still, you need to see what do organizations offer. And of course, organizations sometimes wonder, when we send someone somewhere, what's in it for us? Because someone's spending time there. So I send someone to, let's say, Australia or to the UK. How do I know that they're just not partying? By the way, first, partying is part of the experience. However, immediately when people really settle there, you have less friction, especially when it comes to international cooperation and collaboration. People understood communication. They are better with conflict management. You are very more efficient and effective with what you do due to less lack of communication and due to better solutions during conflict. And that already creates a culture where people are more motivated due to a better mood in the whole organization. And by the way, that immediately impacts the bottom line in a positive way. And as a side effect, you will have a lower employee turnover because especially when you offer these international programs, people are keen to stay, to be part of these programs. However, you really need a structured approach to these programs. Just sending somewhere and saying, good luck from here is probably not what will give you the best return on invest. And of course, when it comes to application of this, the first aspect, and now we come to aspect number 3 after talking about the person and the organization. Aspect number 3 is the application. Really check for the benefit for your organization. When you are a regional business with regional clients, with regional products, reaching out to regional markets, there is a very high likelihood that you do not need international experience. And of course, you can always say, oh, maybe there's some concept somewhere that we could learn. However, maybe there's not. So always be aware of the fact, check for the real benefit here. And by the way, short trip somewhere, if you travel somewhere for a week or so, it's nice, but it doesn't help too much, especially when you only have it done once and not frequently. Be aware of that. You need someone who really settled somewhere and who's willing to settle there for a number of years. I lived years and years outside the country in which I was born. And I can tell you, one of the most valuable assets, because in any country, they always scream, you have to integrate yourself when you go somewhere. And yes, that's true. That's part of your job. Integrating yourself is way harder when you have that experience. And I can tell you from myself, I lived in countries where I really had quite a struggle to align to their ways of communication, the way how they deal with conflict, and especially the work ethics or work attitude, the role of work in society sometimes didn't align with my values. And then you see that this just integrate yourself isn't as easy as you think. However, as an organization, always be proactive and then demand from people and also promote that people get actively involved in these programs. However, always check for the real benefit, what's in it for you, what's in it for them, and then you get the best result for both sides. Long story short, international experience is always a valuable asset when the variables around it are the right ones. Just saying that any international experience and any travel is always worth it and always helps your organization, sorry, that's pseudoscience. International experience is always valuable when the variables that you have in your organizations are properly checked, and then you proactively, in a structured manner, implement the program you want to implement. And of course, now you might say, wow, that's that sounds complicated. And yes, it is. It is. There's no question about that. And when you now have any questions, just drop me a line. nb@nb-networks.com is my email address. You find the email is also in the show notes. And if you have something very specific where you say, hey, we need intercultural training, speaking, coaching, something, of course, we can talk about that, but we can also just talk about the aspects you like to discuss. Doesn't cost you a penny. And also this episode today came from the questions when people started texting me when they saw that I'm in New York City again, been here before during this year for Pride. And now I'm here again in action, and people were wondering what's the value of international experience. We got into talking, and here we are with this podcast episode. And the second aspect I always recommend is register for the so-called leadership letter. It's a weekly email you receive every Wednesday morning. It's 100% content, ad-free guarantee. You get free access to everything I published, no paywall, nothing, completely free access. And you also see where you can access the live sessions that we have, where you can ask questions. It's available in English or in German. expert.nb-networks.com. You will also find that in the show notes. Feel free to register there, and then you will always stay up to date. But the most important aspect is the third one. Apply what you heard in this podcast, because only when you apply what you heard, you will see the positive impact in your organization that you obviously want to see. I wish you all the best implementing these steps in your organization. Let me know if I can be of any help. Always happy to do so. And now, greetings from New York City. Have an amazing and successful week. And for the rest of the week, there's only one thing left for me to say. Thank you very much for your time.